you're on the left coast, that's 5 a.m. your time. Join her each and every Tuesday morning and, become a part of that Speak Your Power Now movement as she's, assisting people doing some great work. They have no problem sharing the thought. Now, type one, we are dealing with cryptocurrencies here. Cryptocurrencies. Ms. Johnson, can you read that paragraph for us, please?
Cryptocurrencies are best understood as a subtype of digital currency that relies on cryptographic methods and often distributed blockchain validation. Their decentralized structure can reduce reliance on intermediaries, but it also brings risks such as price swings, hacking exposure, limited payment acceptance, and irreversible transaction.
Now, I'm gonna deal with that last one, that irreversible transaction. I remember they were talking about, this was probably a couple of years ago. Someone had like at that point, they said they had like, I think it was like 300 or 400 Bitcoins. And the gentleman had the wallet and forgot the password. So you think about that. At that time, this was probably like 2022, 23. He had 300 Bitcoin. Not talking about one, and we're not talking about two. Had the physical wallet, but did not do his diligence, or that person did not do their diligence in regards to remembering their long key. Usually it's like a bunch of different words or stuff like that, some intricate wallets like that. And that would make a person cry. Because even if today, if that person had those same 300 Bitcoin, even at 65,000 per coin, where Bitcoin was trading at today, 300 Bitcoin, that's a nice piece of change to not remember. So even in this space now, as we're moving into stuff digitally, it's behooving now for us to be in those areas where, where are you keeping your information? How are you backing it up to back it up to back it up? So that you need to have the access or the relevance to get into the space. And as we see by the price swings that we talked about earlier, not even a year ago, Bitcoin was over $100,000 per coin. Right now, it's trading around 65. So there's price swings. Hacking exposure, someone somehow gets into your network and knows how to crack the code of what's your stuff, or you have your wallet just not in a space of being exposed, could be hacked. And limited payment acceptance, as I stated earlier, those gray and dark areas of the web, people love dealing in cryptocurrencies because, if you want to take care of a transaction, you pay it in that respective form, goes along the network, person who you send it to confirms that they received it. Next, the transaction goes through. And as we stated earlier, it's decentralized, so there's no central authority. There's no one person. There's no like Shitobi that's just sitting there controlling everything. So there's no central authority that controls issuance of validation and cryptographically secured transactions verified through distributed blockchain networks. And this is where I'm going to ask Ms. Johnson if you can, because I think she shared with us last week, which was a great example. But just once again, just give us an overstanding or understanding about blockchain and why those networks are important when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Ms. Johnson.
Sure. So you can think of the blockchain itself as a chain link fence. There's something called a ledger where all transactions, money exchanges, purchases are written down the ledger. Each transaction is one block. So say I buy something from, I don't know, Walmart, and Dr. Clarke buys something from Target, and then his wife buys something from Amazon. Those three transactions are linked together. If I was to try and delete my transaction, it's not possible because it would throw off all the transactions that came after me. And say somebody said, okay, I'm going to steal a ledger so no one will know what happened. The ledger is also decentralized. So there are tens of thousands of copies of the ledger. that gives you redundancy and protection for both the purchaser as well as the seller. And I'm complete.
Excellent, excellent. Look at that. Look at that. You're getting information, a little entertainment, and education. Edutainment, as KRS-One coined that phrase. You're getting some edutainment here. Let's move on to the next one. Virtual currencies. Virtual currency is the broader private sector category. A close example might be a game token or airline mile that cannot normally be redeemed for cash. An open virtual currencies, such as many cryptocurrencies or stablecoins, can operate across wider networks and may be exchangeable for fiat currency. So that means you can change a Bitcoin, as we stated, as worth $65,000. So if someone has $65,000 in, say, US dollars, they can allow themselves to purchase a Bitcoin at this particular moment in this time of taping and documentation. And at the same time, that value of that Bitcoin can fluctuate. Tomorrow it could be worth 63,000. So if that person decided to buy one full Bitcoin today, and all of a sudden it goes down in value, that means they lost $2,000 in value. They still have the Bitcoin, but it's just not as worth as much as what you purchased it for. That's why the individuals who probably got into some of these stable coins earlier or at its infancy are the ones that ended up generating part of their great wealth. Because if you got in and say, if you was one of those individuals, say, you know what, when Bitcoin is probably trading at 50 cents, and you say, you know, I got $1,000. Okay, I'll buy 2,000 coins. Okay, and I'll just let it sit there. And all of a sudden, you let that thing ride. So, Miss Johnson, if someone got it's circulated $1,000 when Bitcoin was 50 cents, what would they have right now? As she gets that number to the drum roll, so not giving dead air. She's probably looking at the number right now saying,
You
why?
have to do Jeopardy.
Oh, come on, Jeopardy. Come on, Cheryl. You the best Jeopardy person. Come on, let's hear you.
Pardon me, we don't want any copy strikes, so we will not be doing that. If at the time a book Bitcoin was 50 cents per coin, if someone invested $8,000, ignoring fees that would have purchased them 2,000 Bitcoin, the current value today would be $128 million.
That's why there's certain people, when we talk about how to buy and hold, and those who are moving in those, I would say, wealthy and affluent spaces, or the Warren Buffetts of the world, or some of those investors who sit there and say, why would this person just seems kind of boring? So, okay, he purchased this thing at one price, and all of a sudden you start to see the multiples of how much money they've made. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, some of it you may have sold over time, but think about that. If someone took $1,000 and had the potentiality right now to be at $128 million. That's why when we see certain things that we have the opportunity to invest in, it's not about jumping in, jumping out. It's not double dutch. Some of these things like, well, my God, it went down a little bit. That's okay. Pick up some more. Or it went down. Or this is going on. I need my money. Okay. That's why they usually state all the time, the money that you're putting in the markets of resources to go out there and come back more pregnant, don't look for that to pay your bills. If that's part of your paying your bills, don't put that money in the markets. Don't put it in the crypto markets. Don't put it in the stock market. Don't even put it in the real estate market. Don't put it in no market. Because you're saying already that if you put it in these markets, you're going to pull it out too quick, or you're going to pull it out in a space where it's of a want now. I need this money because I have to pay this thing over here. It's like, oof. Instead of letting that thing work. Because we've seen the stories of people say, you know what, I had Amazon when it first came out, or I had Facebook when it first came out. What did you do with it? Oh, I got out of it like 2 months later. You know what your money could have been worth if you just been patient? No, I had a bill to pay. Okay. Instead of figuring out, okay, how can I figure out how can I pay that bill. Let that money over there work. Especially you don't have to do anything. Just let that money work. And this is part of what we're talking about with these respective virtual currencies. So in short, crypto is generally virtual currency, but not every virtual currency is crypto. And as you heard me talk about earlier, closed virtual currency usable only within one system, like our airline miles. When they say, you have all these miles for Delta or JetBlue or this particular airline, that's currency. You think that, no, those are miles. No, it's currency. Because if you decide to fly on that respective network or airline and you have enough miles, all of a sudden you're not paying what you would usually pay for the ticket because now you're redeeming the miles, which is currency, so you can do what you need to do in regards in that closed network. So we have to start to really think about it. That's why at times we even have to look at our time. Time is currency. So game tokens, and as we're seeing now with AI and things of that nature, all of this stuff is now tokens. These are now they're pretty much virtual currency on a closed network. Now the open ones, which are much more convertible, operates across wider networks, may be exchanged for other currencies of fiat money, which is like cryptocurrency and stable coins. Like if you desire to buy Doge coins or Ethereum or Bitcoin, you can take your dollars and say that you're choosing to buy some cryptocurrency because you feel, it's going to go up in value. So I'll put it in that. So if it goes up in value, I still have the same amount of coins, but now it's worth more. So I can redeem some of those coins if I desire to get some of those dollars. And then if I keep my original investment in there and just let that ride, all of a sudden you may have what Ms. Johnson just shared, that person who just circulated $1,000 on Bitcoin and just waited, because Bitcoin's only been around since 2007, 2008. So you're not even talking about, oh my God, I had to wait 50 years for my money to grow like that. No. It took us patience and wait 15, 16 years, and maybe ever so often, maybe it was at higher levels. You may have sold a couple, to have some working or walking around money, or you took that money and invested it into another asset or moved it to someplace else where it's working over there while the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency is working over there. It's about asset accumulation, not about buying things. So any thoughts before we move on to the next slide?
Yeah, Dr. Clark, a
Go ahead.
question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the American currency, right, used to be in coins. You started in coins with the $2 to $5. And then if they're printed, like say, for instance, in 1972, it carries a value, whether 50,000, some 25,000. It all depends on what the value of it is, let's say in silver at that particular
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? What happened to all of those? Let's say the coins, and because I know we are dealing with virtual currency, which is crypto. But what happened to all those coins that, let's say, for instance, that will carry a value?
Well, what those coins ended up happening is, like with anything that has some sort of intrinsic value and is not that many in circulation, they start to go up in values. Same way as someone having a car in 1972. Say they had a Barracuda, SS Barracuda car. Now, in 1972, that car was probably $4,000 or $5,000 for the car, new. Now, after time, and they were gas guzzlers and they were muscle cars and things of that nature. Over time, people stopped buying Barracudas. They stopped, the company that made it stopped producing them. Then people who had maybe a Barracuda in their particular collection, they started to notice it went from being a depreciable asset and it started appreciating. The same way with the coins, and especially during the time when United States was using at times sometimes gold itself and silver. Those coins are worth money because of their scarcity, also their respective value, and they're worth way more than the face value based upon the fact of the scarcity what people have generally attested a certain level of value upon. And it's like anything. It's like I think when Mr. Sampson was here a couple of weeks ago with us, one of the members of the circle, he was talking about, with art. And it's so true. Someone could have, Jackson Pollock, you look at a Jackson Pollock painting and look at it and says, it looks like a bunch of splatter, like someone just put splatter on a canvas. But some of these Jackson Pollocks can go for hundreds of millions of dollars. Who decided that value? Someone decided that value. And especially in those times when it's scarce, scarcity also plays a key into it. So if you have certain coins or certain people, start to collect certain coins and hold on to certain special pennies or certain forms of currency, or the currencies that were certain mistakes, and all of a sudden you find out a penny is worth way above a penny because it was it was shouldn't have been printed, or it was a bad batch and they destroyed most of them, but a couple of them got out, and now they're on different markets saying, wait a minute, those pennies worth for $10,000 for a penny. But it's a penny. Yeah, but it's a special penny. Yes, Miss Johnson.
Right in line with what you're speaking about. One of the older coins I was looking up is a double eagle coin worth $20, but one had a special error on it. And in 2002, it sold for $7,590,020 and was resold in 2021 for $18,872,250. The auction record for a single coin that was originally valued at 20 US dollars.
That's why at times, yeah, no, that was excellent. That's why at times we have to recognize we have to play a different game. The game that was positioned for us, especially to be considered consumers and just be here and not be in a space to be in some realm of creation, it's almost like it's disrespectful to not only, it's systemically disrespectful, because that means you're allowing yourself to stay at a space where other people are going to control and manipulate how your possibility can land. And technically, as we recognize, none of us are in a box. So as we get out of these boxes or get out of this mentality, get out of this only thinking, there's no only. There's recognizing, okay, how do I need to maneuver? What is the best benefit? And even though we're talking about currencies, it's not only with currencies, it's your time, it's your resources, who you're hanging around with, who you're giving your time to, who you're willing to invest in, who you're not willing to invest in. All of that is important. Because sometimes we can be doing something that is considered, quote unquote, air quotes, nice, but is still no good. Could be good, but it's still no benefit. And so as we start to recognize, as the game continues to evolve, the game of life, the business of living continues to evolve, we have to evolve with it. We cannot allow ourselves to be in a space where it's just easier for us to say, oh, I'm just going to accept the status quo. That's terrible. We would be doing ourselves a disservice. We would be doing those that's coming behind us a disservice. And I think that's the reason why Gen Xers are considered we're like the sandwich generation. And it's not a bad thing, because we remembered before everything went digital, and now we're in a space now where we're more or less starting to take over for the baby boomers. And now it's like, okay, now what do we do with this? What do we do with this knowledge? What do we do with this opportunities? What do we do with how we're taking care of ourselves physically, how we're taking care of our finances, how we're taking care of our mindset? All these things come into play. Because you can sit there and say, oh, I'm just going to be focused on my physical health. Okay, that's great, but then your money's to crap. Oh, I'm going to focus on my money, and then my mindset, I can't hold on to it because my mindset keeps screwing up, because I'm not generating or creating the opportunities to learn how do I hold on to this. And I'm coming to you, Dr. Shaw. So even then, we start to recognize, even though we're talking about these closed virtual currency systems, we all have systems. Even when you're in certain on platforms and plateaus, and they say, if you do X and Y and Z, you get this. That's a closed virtual currency environment. You're taking your fiat money, putting it into something, and then you get a benefit and you get benefit or benefits out of it. Those are virtual currency environments. Yes, Dr. Cheryl.
What I wanted to say is that I think it's important I was watching something today, and it's important for all generations to come together to teach one, because I think it's so far in between of between technology it's just a whole different mindset with the different generations. And instead of us looking at the generations, oh my goodness, they looking at us like, oh my God, y'all guys are so slow. And then you look at them, you guys are just don't know what you're talking about. I think coming together with the different generations, even with our program, when we're trying to reach the youth, I think it's important for us to begin to get in their world. That's the only way we're going to get to understand them better, is to really get into their world and understand what that looks like. We watched a movie the other day that they needed time to process things. And Dr. Clark was looking at the front like, are you kidding me? But if we get to understand their world better, then they could possibly, we can understand and maybe have a better world later on. So this virtual currency is something, as when our own children were talking about paper money, like what is paper money these days? They don't walk around with paper money. They have their phones, the devices, and they pay through that. And the younger generations really don't know what money is. So it's important for us to really not turn a blind eye to them, but also embrace them. And I'm complete with that.
Excellent. No, that was perfect. Perfect. And type 3, the CBDCs. CBDCs are digital sovereign money. They retain the value, as you can see in the picture. That's like one of the European central banks over there in Europe. They retain the value and backing of the issuing country's fiat currency with central bank oversight. Same way of thinking of how the Federal Reserve Bank is the one that controls the United States currency. But the United States currency is used globally and is now one of the main standards of how we translate things globally. That's why even when we hear about a barrel of oil, it's in dollars. It's not in British pounds. It's not in yen. Everyone's saying, okay, you have to translate your yen or your euros or your pounds, or even back in the day when they used to still have French francs and German dollars and the DAX and all that other stuff. And all that was going on before the euro. You'd have to, okay, how many euros that we'd have to translate into dollars so we can get this. So that government backing is the central difference from privately issued market price cryptocurrencies. And we're starting to see this globally. It's not only the United States, we're starting to see this globally, that governments are starting to slowly making these transitions towards digitizing our dollars, to the point where I think Ms. Johnson brought it up in the previous episodes, in episodes 85, I believe. I think it was more 86, where she made the statement probably in about 30 years from now. And I remember Dr. Shaw also alluded to a fact of she felt probably by the time if we make it to our 80s, which we will, that we probably won't be walking around with no more actual paper dollars. Everything will be like, okay, credits or digitize, whatever. And so it's starting to happen. That's not a pipe dream. It's not sci-fi. It's happening. And as we say in the other expressions, wholesale CBDCs, designed mainly for financial institutions' interbank activity. That is how banks, when you hear when here in the United States, you hear about the Fed funds rate. That is the rate that the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation that handles the currency of the United States, they have a particular basic rate that they lend money to banks so banks can do their business. That's why I say if you have $100,000 in your bank account and you walk into your branch today and say, okay, I'm going to draw all your money, that particular bank or branch could not give you your money. And you would think that they're stealing from you, but they're not, because they don't keep that type of money on hand. They would literally have to go in there and let them know, says, look, I'm coming in here on Friday and they'd probably bring you straight to the bank manager, because the bank manager would have to make all those inroads. Like, I need $100,000 in cash. I'll pick it up on Friday. Okay, thank you, sir. Or madam. Da 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 da. He does what he has to do on his computer to make sure they bring that literal currency, fiat currency, to that branch so they can represent it to you. So wholesale CBDCs is just, think about the way that they're moving from central bank to the institutions. It has nothing to do with us. Now, as you see in the next box, it says retail CBDCs, intended for consumers and businesses in everyday transactions. Now, this is when you go into your bank, and if your bank is dealing in digital currency, or your particular entity, form, whatever, is dealing in cryptocurrency, now you're dealing with them from a consumer yourself with the bank. There's a difference between the wholesale level and the retail level. Retail is more or less consumers and businesses who have their finances and they're doing those respective transactions, whereas the wholesale level is from central bank to the actual banking institutions. Hopefully I was clear on that. Or if I wasn't, please ask any questions now. So you know.
Yeah, Dr. Clarke. It's like you look back, right? They set policies in place that when you're traveling, you can't travel, like, say, for instance, if you travel with $10,000, you have to declare it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're under $10,000, like, say, in cash, right, you could just walk through free.
Correct.
And when you look at that, right, it's like the limitation they put on individuals because of, let's say, the things that transact and happen before, that limited people from traveling with money, because everybody loves to say when they travel, I like to pay cash. You're not looking back, right? That's COD, cash on delivery.
Mm-hmm.
But then the limitation what I have now is like you're limited people for like traveling with money, and if the little money you have, they always like want to know where you get it from, and I'm complete.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. It's part of a level of, I don't want to use the word control or desire to use the word control, not one. I don't desire to use the word control, but I would say it's just about it's more monetization. It's more 1984. It's just about, okay, why are you walking around with 20 grand? I choose to walk around with 20 grand. And sometimes when you see some of these young people walking around, I got bands and bands and bands. I'm like, okay, that's nice. But I know one thing, you're not going through security or talking about you getting on a flight, but talking about you walking around with all these rubber bands because I got bands and bands and bands. It's like they're going to think, oh, what are you walking around 50 grand in your pockets for? You need to declare it. Now the IRS is going to be all up in your schism, because now it's like, oh, you walking around $50,000. Okay. And you're choosing, or you're attempting to go to a country outside of the United States. Okay, what are you doing? So it's just food for thought. Sometimes it's better to, as they said, there are certain individuals who are millionaires and billionaires that are so nondescript that you would look at them like a regular person, and it's like, sometimes the one that looks the loudest is the one that can pick off real easily. Don't be the loudest in the room. The simplest comparison: cryptocurrencies prioritize decentralized, cryptographically secured networks. That means they are in spaces where, as Ms. Johnson alluded to, you're on that network and you allow yourself to be a part of that network, your finances are going to work in that network. Virtual currencies, privately issued digital value, may be open or closed to exchange. You have closed ones, you got open ones, and we gave some examples. You have like your air miles or the tokens now that they say that once you're working with your respective large language models, those are all virtual currencies. Could be the points that you get from your Starbucks. That's virtual currency. If you can turn those points into getting some sort of benefit or item or whatever, it's virtual currency. These are all forms of virtual currency. And CBDC, centrally issued digital fiat money backed by sovereign authority. So just think about your dollars now digitized. Instead of you walking around with $100, now you're walking around with a card that has the same $100 on it. You're not walking around with the bill. And cryptocurrencies prioritize decentralized, cryptographically secured networks. Virtual currencies describe privately issued digital value that may be open or closed, and CBCs are centrally issued digital fiat money. So you start to see anything in the news about CBDCs, you say, oh, over there in comeback conversations in the circle, they were talking about that. So, yeah, get yourself prepared for this. Not woo-woo. It's not, I know certain people go into their religious books and start talking, certain things. But as we've stated already, people have already are moving in a digital format and space. Whereas, yes, you're going to call it allegedly the market of beasts. What beast are you talking about? Because now there are stores that will not take currency. You have to go in there with your card, or if you're part of their virtual network, you can walk in there and pick up certain items, and all of a sudden you walk back out and they're looking at you. Wait a minute, no alarms went off. Says no. I already just got the email that it debited my account. I went in there and spent $20.10. It debited from my account. Here's your juice, or here's your chips, or whatever. Let's go. I mean, you didn't have to stop at the cashier. You didn't have to interact with another human. No, we're already in that world. So sometimes we even have to really think about, some of the things that even presented to us from a space of that level as well, to say that, was that from a space of control? Because there's certain things that are moving ever so often and ever so much more exponentially that we have to be abreast of. The reflection. As digital currencies continue to evolve, understanding the distinctions between cryptocurrencies, virtual currencies, and CBDCs is essential for navigating the future of finance. So consider, here's a reflection question. What type of digital currency is most likely to shape your financial world in the years ahead? For me, I still believe that stable coins and other forms of cryptocurrency are going to rebound. They're going to start going up back in value. And depending upon how you allowed yourself to stay positioned, that's going to work with your fiat money as things continue to evolve and move forward. And there's too many times we may be so focused on fiat money, which is our regular currency, that we have to understand that you have to position your money to keep growing and coming back pregnant. That means in whatever markets, whatever assets, whatever it is that you can create or add value, and that becomes an asset, that means something that generates and brings you some sort of return. Those are the things that will benefit you. And I believe stable coins and the Ethereums, the Bitcoins, the Doges, the Shibas, some of the others that are out there that are widely known, not these meme craziness like the Trumps and all this other stuff or some of this other stuff. But the stuff that's already out there that has some sort of traction, now it's about, you making the decision of where you decide to hold or be benefited about. What would you say, Ms. Johnson, about this question?
I would tend to agree because I know for a while now I've invested in USDC, which is US dollar coin. It's not a CBDC, but it is backed by cash reserves. And on
Mm.
some exchanges, you can actually earn interest on it that you, of course, have to pay taxes on, but you
Yeah.
can gain interest on. So if it's something after doing your research, if you want to dip your toe in something quote unquote safer, because nothing is truly safe, try a stable coin that can get you some kind of interest. Going a little bit into the minutia, certain exchanges aren't available in all states. So just make sure everything you're doing is compliant, do your research, but you are able to gain interest on some stable coins right now. So I think those are here to stay. And I'm complete.
Excellent. Dr. Cheryl, any thoughts? Any digital currency you think it may shape your financial world in the years ahead? Let's see. She's coming on, Mike.
Yes, I am.
Oh God.
This was a great topic today. I think it was very informative, number one. I think the monies is changing. And I did hear something, you didn't talk about it, but I heard something you had CNN on the other day. They had the first homes buying with cryptocurrency. And I thought that was very interesting.
Mm.
That they were buying real estate now with cryptocurrencies. Very small market. But in the United States, they were attempting to buy homes, real estates for cryptocurrency. So times are changing, um, but you just got to be very informed. And this is why I like the platform that you keep us very much so informed about our money. Thank you.
Excellent. And Mr. Richards, any digital currencies in the? Are they allowing y'all to have any digital currency down there in your island?
Secretly, yes. But
Be as
it's
be
like
as harmless as a dove and wise as a snake.
it's like you always have to you be the clock. We always try to be the clock, right? Because time changes, right? And man has to change with time. And once the foundation is laid, you have to build on it. And I am complete.
Excellent, 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 excellent. And as we bring this to a close, this was a great topic. The main thing is, become a subscriber to this respective channel, because, and always invite your friends, if you have people who come on YouTube, there's no reason why they shouldn't come to the Gregory Clarke Demon channel so we can share this plethora of great information that has benefited us all. It's not just for some people, it's for all of us. It's for all of us to be beneficial around, all of us to be aware of, and all of us to be actualized around. And as I'm in a space of being transformational space, transforming not only your money, transforming your ability to take care of your temple. And for some of you who follow me on some of those social media feeds, you always hear me talk about the temple office. And now also getting more into the fight effort. And fight is an acronym for FIGHT. And I'll talk about more about that probably in days to come. But you have the opportunity to get that workbook. That's my method. As you heard, Dr. Cheryl shared her method on the PIES method. FIGHT is my method. And you can simply go to coachclarkdmin.com/comeback. And you'll go straight to that page. It'll give you the assessment. You type in your name and your email, and in a couple of moments, you will get your copy of the Fight Workbook sent to you for free. Just my benefit and my pleasure to share some information, because we also have to work on our mindset development. You hear us talk a lot here about taking care of our bodies and taking care of our money, but we have to have the right mindset. And if we're not willing to have the right mindset, you can take care of your body and you may get the opportunity to have access to resources. Now, how can you maintain it? The right mindset will help you to maintain it. If you have the wrong mindset, it will disappear. And it's not that the money was bad or you're a bad person, it's that you wasn't a wise steward. And so your mindset is going to help you steward all the possibilities, all the opportunities and probabilities that are presented to you. So make sure you do that today. And that's my gift to you. And also definitely become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. There's no reason why that you or your community or people around in your circles should not be a part of this circle. So you can benefit from what we have shared and what we are continuing to evolve in. So with that being said, let me share this. The ways that you can, allow yourself to support the platform. You can do it via Cash App. That's $ Gregory Clarke D Min. Or if you're choosing to do it via Venmo, just drop the $. It's the same Gregory Clarke D Min. And if you're choosing to support us so we can continue to do marketing and things of that nature via Zelle or PayPal, it is the same email address, and that is esquire971@gmail.com. So once again, until next week when we come back with another great edition of the Comeback Conversations, this is Dr. Gregory Clarke Sr. says, keep an eye on your money and allow your money to come back to you pregnant. Because if it's coming back pregnant, that means you were a wise steward with your dollars. In the same way, take care of your bodies, take care of your physical health, make sense, be aware, be conscionable about your body and about the things that will allow you to have longevity. So until next week, you be great and stay great every single day. Peace and love, and y'all have a great week.
Yeah, good evening. And Dr. Clarke, how was my
Night, everyone.
Your audio was excellent.
Yeah? Okay, that's what I want to find out. Thank you very much. God bless.
No problem. Bless. How are you doing? This is Dr. Gregory Clarke, and I hope you enjoyed this past video. Now, once again, I invite you to become a part of the Comeback Collective Circle on this wonderful time frame, and not only by enjoying the video, but going to get my book, Life in the Huddle. You can get this copy and get your copy today, right now, by going to the Amazon.com website and type in Life in the Huddle. This is a great book, not only for yourself, but it's a very autobiographical tome that I've written. And the reason why it's so important, you can connect with the Comeback Collective Circle. You can support this community by financial means. You can do it via Cash App at $ Gregory Clarke D Min, or you can go via Venmo to Gregory Clarke D Min. Or if you desire to do it via Zelle or PayPal, you can simply use the same email address, esquire971@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the journey. Can't wait for you to see you as a part of the circle as we grow the community. Have a great day.